It's an absolute honor for me here, sitting with one of the greatest cricketers the world has ever seen, Jonty Rhodes, JR, as popularly known. And he has transformed cricket in the way that fielding has been given importance these days. You look at the fitness of the players nowadays as compared to fitness years back. And that made the difference. Catches, wins matches, fielding saves runs. And these things were physically created by JR. And I'm so happy to be here with JR. Let's start a conversation. Just wanted to ask you, you've been diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 6. And years back, that is not too far away. But still, how was the treatment then, and how did your family react to that?
Okay, well, that's too kind. It is a long time ago. Now that it's pretty much 50 years ago. Born in 69, so around about 1975. And in fact, I grew up in a small rural kind of village in a place called Hilton outside Pietermaritzburg. And our doctor couldn't really explain to my parents what was happening because I kept getting concussed very easily. I'm one of 3 boys, so we were very busy, outdoor family, playing all sorts of sports already at that stage because my father was a sports coach, he was a referee. So most of our weekends were spent at the side of some field, and us as boys do, you get quite physical with each other as siblings. And I would invariably end up getting my head bumped and losing consciousness, waking up very nauseous, not quite knowing where I was. And my parents, it took a while to be actually diagnosed. And I was just really grateful at that stage. I didn't need medicine. So the doctor observed me and just said it's a mild form. They called it reflexive epilepsy. So as long as I kept my head out of the places it wasn't supposed to be at that stage, they felt that I could control my epilepsy. So my parents just made sure that I wasn't going to play rugby, which is quite a physically real contact sport, and which was, for me was quite sad because my father was a keen rugby player. And but they really were supportive, and they also didn't say, okay, well, he's got epilepsy, so don't do anything, we don't want you to get hurt. They just informed my teachers, my classmates, my whole community that I've got this condition, and as long as we know what to do, and if something does happen, don't be frightened, and these are the steps to take.
So that's very interesting. So the next question that is very commonly asked, and we always face such things, is many believe that if you're an epileptic or if you have epilepsy, you cannot do what you want. And you, on the contrary, have achieved what would be a dream for anyone to achieve. So what do you think would be your view of this particular question? And
Doc, I think the most amazing thing too is that just like cricket has evolved with a T20 and we've seen the game change, and that impacts even 5-day cricket. So it's everything is changing. In with technology available, the treatment for people with epilepsy has is now many options compared to what it was for me as a child growing up. So I think from a perspective of my parents' thing was about if you understand your limitations, you can overcome them. We didn't ignore the fact that I had epilepsy. We didn't try and hide the fact. We just realized that, okay, so this is a path that you can't go down, but here are the other options. And they supported me 100% in all those other options because, in South Africa, we grew up playing a multitude of sports. So it was hockey and cricket and tennis along with my cricket. And it wasn't, rugby was just, okay, this is a no-go zone, but everything else I was supported to the hilt. So the amazing thing now is that, when you are diagnosed with epilepsy, I mean, it's a life-changing moment because generally it's through seizures and your brain is telling you something. And I think the difficulty is that everybody's brain is so different that we all respond totally differently. And it's not just take this tablet or this medicine and it'll be cured or reduced. It is a process that people have to go through, but now there are options available, and I think that's the key. The early diagnosis is that trying to ensure that people don't keep this quiet and let's not let anybody else know, because that, from my perspective, was such an important thing that my parents did for me, was alert my entire community that this kid has epilepsy, but hey, don't treat him any differently. Give him as hard a time as possible.
So they did both the let you go, but kept an eye on you. And kept the society's eye on you.
As its father, we always talk about these helicopter parents because we hover around our kids and, whether they have epilepsy or not, we don't want any harm to befall them. But they, I think because they were teachers, they had such understanding of what 7, 8, 9-year-old kids, how nasty they can be to their peers if they perceive to be slightly different. So they just wanted to ensure that it was never a case of my friends or my peers at school thinking that here's this kid with epilepsy and he's not the same as us, he's not normal. Some of the stuff I did on the field probably wasn't normal in my era on the cricket field, but it wasn't a case of he's got epilepsy so he must be treated differently. That was definitely not the case.
Oh, that's very nice. I think that's a tip that every parent should take from you. Now, on a more imaginative question, what would you have done if you realized that we can surgically correct your epilepsy?
That really is interesting, because with the evolution in the options or the changes and the options available, I was really fortunate in that I didn't have to take medication. So my life was only impacted because of the rugby. So everything else that I did, I had to wear a helmet. I was the only kid in the whole of South Africa, so I was slightly different. But I could play football, and it wasn't stopping me. And I think because of the fact that we identified, here's one thing you can't do, but there's so many other options available, that if there was surgery available in my generation, I'm not sure that my folks, and maybe it's just not understanding the brain enough, understanding, what we have available through technology, the precision that you can get in, and firstly identify the part of the brain that's causing the issue, which I think is so important, and what you're doing at Asta is phenomenal work, because our brains are also different. We know that. But if you can, when you identify the area that's causing the issue, and then you have the sort of precision surgery, or even the neuromodulation that will then impact that specific part of the brain, that is incredible. So, for me, it's definitely, I'm past it and there's no need, but, and I'm just, if it had been available, I'm not sure what my parents, it's interesting. I would need time to get back to you on that one. But right now, I'm grateful for the career path that it sent me down. Because imagine if I'd been a rugby player. I was too short, I had a large mouth, and one big guy probably would have caught me one day and just said, hey, stop yapping like that little dog. So yeah, I'm really grateful for the choices that I had to make because of epilepsy. So I'm not too sure I would want to change that. And I've seen evolution on the cricket field as a player and as a coach. But in your understanding and your experience, how has the understanding about epilepsy, how has that actually changed and evolved over time?
Yeah, it's a very fascinating question, because that is, as you correctly said, it's evolution that happened through and through, like in cricket. But the two aspects have improved our knowledge about epilepsy and where it comes from. One is the imaging. The quality of imaging has become far superior than what is there in the past. And two, the technology that goes with it. That is, we have a technology that help us find out exactly where the source of the seizure is. Once we know that, we reconfirm that source, because we put in EEGs, which goes right, that electroencephalogram that goes right there and picks up the firing. It gives us where it starts from and where it spreads to. So if the anatomy, the physiology, and the imaging has become so good that once we are able to track that movement, if we catch the base, then we cut the propagation and then seizures.
Because I suppose, especially for a doctor that is going into the brain, you need to be 100%
exactly,
confirm that this is the area, because the brain is not really a part of the body you want to be messing with, right?
Exactly, because the brain doesn't regenerate. So if you mess up with the place, lifelong that's messed up. Whereas if you make a small cut in your kidney or your liver, it'll heal by itself. But the brain does not heal, and if it heals, it leaves with a scar, and that scar can produce seizures.
And it's just through the imaging and what you are able to
with technology
obtain.
that is there.
Fantastic.